What if the pain that you are feeling is not because of your failures, but because you are forgetting? I mean, forgetting what it's like to follow your heart, follow your dreams, forgetting the path that you were meant to walk on, forgetting that there is a calling on your life and that you actually have a purpose in this world. Well, today we are about remembering. That's right. It's not about mindset, it's about a vibration. When fear starts to creep in, it actually hijacks your own energy and it disconnects you from your destiny, your own heart song. In the words of the Alchemist, do not give into your fears, for if you do, you will not be able to talk to your heart. So today, let's tune in. Let's talk about vibrational awareness, how fear energetically distorts you, and how we can reconnect to the frequency of our own calling, our own personal journey and legacy. Hey there, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another Mindful Monday. That's right, I'm your host, your girl, 𝐿𝐸𝐵𝐿, here to help us grow spiritually, professionally, and understand our own energy field so that we can come home to our own personal frequency, aka our own heart song. That's right. Here at Prison Vibes, we are not just about recovery. We're not just about release. We are actually about resonance, true resonance, and understanding that we all have our own signature vibration and frequency. So if you are new here, I want you to be welcomed in this new space where sometimes science meets the sacred, where some days I am a little bit more on the sciencey side and talking about neuroplasticity and heart coherence. And then there are other days where it's like, sis, fear is blocking your blessing and your aura. So let's get back in tune today. Today's theme is super powerful. At least I feel like for me, in the collective energy, there is a lot of fear-based thinking going on. So today is personal and it's powerful because we are talking about how fear can actually block us from our dreams and how we can learn to tune back into our own frequency so we can be on that path to destiny. If you know anything about some of the things that I talk about, I also bring in trauma as well and how that impacts this conversation as well. So whether you are feeling, stuck, whether you are feeling very scared and worried about your purpose or feel like maybe other people are living in their true purpose and you don't know what that is for you, we are going to be talking about that today. And I'm going to help you, or at least give you some tools that you can use so you can reconnect to your own frequency and your heart song. So take a breath, drop in, tap in, and let's begin, shall we? So let's start with the heart. I mean, after all, that's what we are talking about today, and really connecting back to our heart song, to our heart center, our own frequency, however you want to talk about it. So our heart really knows the way. And I don't mean this in a metaphorically, but true, our heart knows the way energetically. The heart produces the strongest electromagnetic energy in the body. So up to 60 times stronger than our actual brain. So if you think about it, the energy that gets created from our brains, although very strong and powerful, and we're thinking about our brains and how they're these beautiful things, our heart produces energy that is 60 times stronger. So when people say, listen to your heart or follow your heart, there's science to that because it produces a magnetic field that is stronger. This field is constantly broadcasting a signal about your own emotional state. So how you are right now, it is your own truth. It is your own alignment, your own path to alignment. But when fear starts to take over, then that signal starts to be distorted. Maybe you can't even hear that signal anymore. You wonder, is my heart still talking to you? Well, of course it is. It might be a little bit quieter because you've got all this noise and static around you, but your heart is still communicating. Your heart is still giving off that electromagnetic field. So, you'll never be able to escape from your heart. So it's better to listen, to tune in, but what your heart actually has to say, what really calls to your soul, what resonates with you. That way, you'll never have to wonder what if, right? You'll never have to fear the unexpected when you are tapped in and you're listening to your heart song. But again, I get it. Our whole society is designed around these lovely distractions that say, hey, look at me, and what you really want is over here. Sometimes it can be really difficult to understand that you have your own purpose in life, that you have your own calling. And so today I am pulling from a book that I just finished rereading. I like to often reread The Alchemist about once a year or so. And it's actually been a few years since I read it. And then this weekend I said, you know what, let me dig back into this. And it was really good and helped inspire today's episode about pointing the way to vibrational awareness and helping us increase our vibrational intelligence by understanding that we can stay connected to our heart and understanding that our heart is always talking to us. Our heart is always leading us the way, and the way is always home, and home is always within us. It has nothing to do with what is outside of us, what is it that we see right every day, what is on TV, what is on social media. Your heart really knows what it is that you want. So when something is off, being able to tap in and listening to your heart and developing that heart coherence that we talked about a few episodes ago, this really can strengthen your own journey, your purpose, your ability to manifest the life that you want, and really just help you navigate life in general. So when you are going through a trauma or a traumatic time in your life, or when pain starts to arrive, this is the time to really tap in and dig into what is your heart saying versus listening to all the outside noise. But most people, we don't. Most people, we see the world as a threatening place, as a place where we've got to hustle, we've got to survive, we can't just thrive. And I get it. I understand. I fall victim to that just like you. The world constantly creates this society that is built off of fear, and fear then starts to become our own default setting. It starts to be that interference in our own heart song. And it seems like maybe our heart is even silenced at time because most of us grow up in societies, cultures, and narratives that focus on fear because there's an agenda behind that, right? When you act in fear, you are not acting in your best and highest interest. You are acting from purely a survival mechanism. And for those of us who have been through trauma, who have healed through trauma, who have who are going through trauma, understand that we don't always make the best decisions when we are activated, right? When we are in that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response, you are making the best decision for yourself for survival, but not necessarily the best decision for yourself in terms of your long-term plan, growth idea, your own purpose. So understanding fear being this energetic distortion, if you will. So I want you to understand that fear has nothing to do with weakness. So if you currently are experiencing fear or you are holding on to fear, I don't want to say you are fearful because I don't want to put that on you or to have you attach yourself to that emotion. So fear is not a weakness. It is not something to be shameful of. It is just a low frequency signal. Now, not all we learned this a few episodes ago, like not all low vibes are bad vibes. Like everything has a reason and a purpose, just like the earth, which is very low vibes, is very good for us because it can help us ground and maybe get out of the fear mode. So fear is a low frequency signal. So a low frequency messenger, if, to try to make it a little bit more neutral. So just like static on the radio, like how we chatted last week about like boundaries and how when you create boundaries, it protects your own energy and blocks static from coming in. Same thing. Fear can be like static on the radio. You can't hear the music of your soul. You can't hear what's the next best step for you. What is your purpose? What is your calling? And what direction do I need to go in now? This is what happens. This is exactly what happens when fear starts to creep in. And it starts cranking up that noise. It starts cranking up the static. So it's like you can't hear yourself think. We've all been there. That's what it does to your heart song. So in this frame of thought, you might be telling yourself things like, gosh, I don't know. I don't really deserve that dream. This relationship would never work out. There's no way no way in God's green earth, right, that this is going to work out. Or what if I fail? You start having these negative thoughts, and you maybe go down the spiral, or what in psychology called catastrophizing, where you go down the spiral of thoughts and it just becomes negative and negative and negative. And every time you choose fear, because although our brains might automatically go down that spiral, they're going down that spiral for a reason. There is a choice in that. So over time, when you choose fear, that vibration really, you start to drop in your own a little bit lower and lower, and right, that noise starts to turn up more and more to where you can't hear, feel, understand your path at all. You are living, but maybe you are living and you're just doing all the things. And these are things that don't really light you up. You're living, but not vibrating in your own heart song or your own signature frequency, because you have that distortion of fear that's constantly coming in to distort your own frequency. So again, like when we talked about last week, the different boundaries that you can have, whether it's a porous, or if you're leaking your biofield, or you have that static, that noise. That's what that fear is, that static, that noise. And this can be very dangerous, because again, when we think about our heart song, when we think about our purpose, think about your own intuition. I'm sure there are times where maybe that voice was so soft, it was so hard for you to hear or understand, what is that best next step I'm supposed to do? Maybe it whispered in your ear that this wasn't the relationship for you, or that this wasn't the job that you were meant to take. But because the fear distorted your own intuition, your own heart song, it got so loud, you couldn't hear that. So you weren't able to make the decision that was really in your highest and best interest at the time. So this is what fear does. It really just hijacks our brain and our body from being able to connect back to our own purpose, our own heart song. And if I could just be maybe a little bit transparent and vulnerable for you, I've had this happen. This has definitely been me. A long time ago, I used to be a singer, and I used to also do photography. Those were two things that I loved so much, and had an opportunity for a singing gig that would have taken me out of like, this is kind of a hobby, to this is more of like, this is my thing. And fear crept in. Like, I come from a family of very gifted and talented musicians. And if you were to hear some of my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, their voices and their music ability is just, to me, far superior. So the thoughts that I had in my head when this got offered to me was, okay, this is going to be mine, but what if they find somebody else, right? They're going to find someone better, and this is not going to last long. This is going to be gone in an instant. Or, oh my gosh, my cousin Ashley, I think she probably would be better for this because her voice, like, oh my God, if they just heard her voice, then, they wouldn't want me. These were all fear-based thoughts that I had. So much so that it prevented me from taking on this opportunity, and forever, right, will change the trajectory of my life. And I don't want that to be you. If it's something that your heart calls to, that's something that really lights you up inside, I want you to be able to take that step. I want you to take that leap of faith and lean in, knowing that, your own heart song, your own intuition, that the universe has your back, and you won't have those voices in the back of your head saying, you can't do this, and you probably won't make enough money. You should take something that's a little bit more stable, right? You should take something that's a little more socially acceptable, maybe get a real job, whatever that fear-based talk, those limiting beliefs that are in the back of your mind that are coming up, that you aren't listening to that, because your heart song is singing its loudest and its clearest, so you're able to actually hear that. So in essence, I essentially like gave up on a dream. Now, I'm very much so happy in the path that I am on now, but there are thoughts where, gosh, when I look at, I was just at Coachella not too long ago. When I look at that, like, could that have been me? Is that something that I could have aspired to do on that level or on some level? So again, I want you to learn from me and my journey. For those of you who have these opportunities that come, they do not, opportunities, what they say, opportunities knock softly, and it's up to you to be able to hear and have that discernment so that you can show up when that opportunity is presented and you're able to move through the fear. Now, some ways that we can eliminate this, right? So that we can actually tune into our heart songs are ways that we're able to really kind of rewire our own brain so that we can start tuning back in regardless of the static that we hear, regardless of the fear base. And so, we can create that bridge between what some people might call the mystical, the woo-woo, right? Because we're talking about intuition here. We're talking about purpose and calling, but to some people that it's very aspirational and that's not something that is concrete. And so, I like to kind of blend the two, the science and the mystical together. So what science tells us is that our beliefs actually shape our nervous system. So this is true if your belief system is grounded in a traumatic experience as well, right? If you formed your core beliefs over something that is traumatizing, your nervous system has now grown to shape or mirror said trauma. That's how you are going to operate. So something to keep in mind. But the beautiful thing is our brain has this beautiful ability to be able to change shape, called neuroplasticity. So this is the ability of our brains to basically create new neural pathways to rewire so that we can change from maybe a fear-based mentality to a faith-forward frequency mentality. So our mirror neurons really are what's going to be reflecting of the energy that we choose to surround ourselves in. So that energy, whether it's outside energy or what's going on in our mind, it's going to start to reflect that. So if you've been surrounded by constant fear, constant chaos, scarcity, doubt, guess what? That's right. Your body is going to attune to that particular frequency. But again, the miracle here is the fact that our brains are neuroplastic, and just like a radio station, you can change, right? I'm sorry, I'm old school, right? So I would tell you how old I am. You can change the station, you'll turn the dial. And other things that you can do, or how you can do that, are through different modes of frequency medicine, if you will. So sound healing, vibrational therapy is really good. Plant medicine, because it has its own vibrationals. Using crystals are good tools that you can use. This isn't just about woo-woo things. Using just a note, tuning to a certain hertz to help with that particular frequency. And so when your frequency changes, guess what? Your reality changes too. I want you to think about that. When your frequency changes, your reality changes, because you start seeing opportunities. You start living in what people call a different mindset, maybe now a growth mindset. But where that starts, it starts as an energy. It starts as a frequency. Before the thought was a thought, it was an energy. It was a frequency, and thoughts are energy and a frequency as well. It's magnified. So again, you start seeing those opportunities. You start seeing challenges as opportunities, as points for growth. You start seeing maybe what you would consider something to be negative in the past. You start seeing that as the messenger or the message that it actually is, instead of the fear-based mindset. Now, to get to that point, and for us to be able to live our own calling, our own truth, our own personal legacy, as the Alchemist puts it, it's really about understanding your soul's purpose. What is your purpose? I love it. I remember reading, I believe, an article, and the fact that I believe it was Deepak Chopra, he challenges his kids, it's not about the job that you do at all. It's about your purpose. It's your purpose here on this earth is to find your purpose, find your calling, find what lights up your spirit, and then everything else will come to pass. You'll find your own treasure. And most people stop searching. We stop searching because of fear. Fear becomes very familiar to us. It becomes the place and space which we find ourselves in the most, so that we just, it's our lives. And then we find other people who are also operating in this fear-based mentality. And so we think that that's okay. And you start to think that going outside of that or doing something different is actually dangerous. But that's where you were called to be. You were called to be great. You were called to have a purpose. You were called to be in a particular lane, not to be like everybody else. And again, understanding that the world you currently in reflects the vibration that is within you. So if you believe that you are safe and secure and opportunities come to you, then that is what will happen. If you believe it's a loving world and you operate with grace, then that is the world you will see. Now, if you believe obviously the opposite, then that's what you will see as well. And you will not find your calling. You will not find your purpose. The hustle, you can hustle as hard as you want. You can make that money. But even in The Alchemist, if we think about it, he made a lot of money and was like, I can go back home because deuces, we're good. I would be considered very rich where I'm from. But at the end of the day, he wasn't fulfilled because making a lot of money was not his purpose. It was not his calling. And it's highly likely that that probably is not your purpose and calling as well, but can definitely be an outcome of your purpose and your calling. So for us to be able to navigate to this space where we're able to pursue our calling, right? Pursue our own heart song, we have to find vibrational tools that resonate with us, that help us with a distortion that fear creates in our lives, that helps us be able to tune and tap back into our own heart song. And I'm just going to give you a few practices that you can use and play with. If they work for you, great. If they don't, great too. It's about finding what works for your heart song, how you can tune in and maybe tap out the noise. I know that was kind of corny, but anyway, so the first tip or practice that I will give is a heart check-in. So this is like how we did the heart coherence, where you are simply, placing your hand on your heart because we want to get connected, reconnected. What does this feel like, right? Maybe you do some somatics of what this feels like. What does this feel like in your body, right? What does this feel like to your soul? When's the last time you put your hand over your heart? For some of us, it was with Gorilla. Okay, sorry, never mind. But anyways, you're gonna do a check-in, and maybe you ask yourself, what do you need me to know right now in this minute? What do you need me to know right now in this minute or in this moment? This is a great practice to do early in the morning before you start your day, so you can start your day essentially with the ending in mind. I've heard from a lot of very successful people, especially in business, you always start with your exit plan. You start with the end in mind, and then you can reverse engineer that ish. So let's start with the end in mind and ask ourselves, what do we need to know in this moment? In this moment of our lives, what is it that we need to know? And then reverse engineer so you can go throughout your day getting to that point or holding on to that point throughout the day. If it means that it's peace, how can you hold on to peace, when you're being called in every which way? How can you hold on to peace when somebody cuts you off on the freeway? So again, just a practical way of how you can do it. Maybe another tip is doing some sound therapy. We all can go on our favorite streaming platforms and listen to a meditation that is 528 hertz. Typically, connected with the heart. But again, each of us has our own individual signature. So maybe finding the frequency that really connects to your heart song. Maybe that's not the hertz for you. It's something different. Maybe, something in the healing areas is what will connect more to your heart. But understand that that's not necessarily universal for everyone based on our lived experience and if we've had trauma. So to be able to repair the frequency of your heart, the love, the forgiveness, all that resides here so that you can listen and tune back in. Another thing you can do is using plant medicine, whether it's a rose, it's a cacao ceremony, whether you're using kanna. Kanna is a really great succulent plant from Africa that you can buy in these amazing chews that really just help you break open your heart and maybe deal with some of the things that might be clouding it or weighing it down and allow you again to tune in, tap in, all of those things. The fourth thing that we can do is learn how to rewrite our own narrative. So if you realize that you have maybe a fear-based mentality or you have a lot of limiting beliefs that are coming in, by reprogramming ourselves and rewriting our narratives, it's really doing a reframe and creating, whether that be affirmations, mantras, or journaling, how this world is safe, how you've been protected, how you have been 100% successful up until now, right? Because you're still alive. You're able to hear me. So maybe you're saying this aloud to yourself. These are ways that you can do, again, to rewrite your own narrative and reinforce safety, security, and which will kind of push out the frequency of that fear-based thinking, that mindset. Of course, journaling is always a good thing, whether you are a person who likes to do voice notes like me or write it down. What dreams that you still have, that you still hold on to, maybe from when you're a kid. So a moment of transparency and honesty. I still want to be a go-go dancer. Like when I was a little girl, don't ask me why, but when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a go-go dancer so bad. I don't know why I felt like they had the life. That dream is like still in me. And I guarantee you on somebody's I don't know, talent show or I won't say open mic, but amateur night or something, I'm gonna go dance. So if you see me, no judgment. I'm just living out a dream from from childhood. But again, like that makes me giggle inside, like I was a kid. So again, just finding things that help you reconnect to that. What's a dream that really refuses to go away, that really stays with you? I know sometimes in our life, especially now, fear could be screaming at you. It could seem so loud, but so is your own heart song, your own internal beat. And whatever dreams that may have been buried, they're still there. They're waiting for you to listen and tap back in. They haven't gone away. Those are things that still light you up inside. Those are things that still maybe get you a little bit nervous because it excites you. It expands you past the possibility of what you thought. They are still there. And just because it's maybe a little bit more quiet and you haven't heard them, that doesn't mean that you have failed. You just forgot how to listen. But that's okay, because we gave you some tools today. So take a breath, tune into yourself, and I want you to remember that you do not give into your fears, right? Because if you do, you'll never be able to talk to your heart. I want to thank you so much for listening with me, for taking this little journey on the fear frequency and helping us really reconnect to our destiny, our calling. Home is waiting for you because it is your own frequency and is with you all of the time. Thank you so much. Please, if this resonated with you, share, like, subscribe, do all of the things. I love keeping the conversation going, and I will see you next time. Bye.